Hey guys, it's Robin here, aka DeliciousTrickery, and today we're going to be making some donuts. To start out, the clay I use is Fimo, and the colors that I use to make a dough type color are Sahara, mainly Sahara, with a little bit of white and this is transparent yellow because nowhere around me sells just plain yellow. I'm not sure why. It's pretty frustrating. And then you blend those three together. You can use your pasta machine if you have one or anything like that, but it's getting pretty warm here, so the clay is actually pretty nice and soft and blends pretty easily. Check that your clay is completely blended together. I like to pull it apart and make sure there's no any lines of white or yellow or anything like that. And then when you're done, you can roll it into a nice ball and then roll it out to a snake like this. And then I cut it into two evenly sized pieces, roll those out and squish them down. And then try and round them out a little bit to make them look like really nice and plump donuts. Probably noticed I got pretty long nails. I don't really recommend this for when you're working with clay because you're likely to get nail marks in it, but I like my nails long, so I have to live with it. So here I realized that one of them was a little bit bigger than the other, so I just added a bit more clay and redid it. And then I grabbed my stylus tool here, which is just a ball-ended thing. And I use that to make the initial hole in the donut, and then I go in with this tool to make the hole nice and big, and I do it both sides so that it kind of rounds in from both sides. And here it's a little bit blurry because I didn't realize my camera needed to refocus, but I'm going around the edge of the donut with my stylus tool again to get a nice little divot in the edge. It makes it look a little bit more realistic, and you can tell it's nowhere near perfect. It's really wobbly, but that adds to the realism as well. So now I'm going to grab my paintbrush, which is a really loose and soft one, and my palette of shaven pastels that I just shaved off with a X-Acto knife. And the two colors I'm going to use are this yellow ochre. You don't really want a lemony yellow, you want a warm yellow, and this really tan, saturated brown for to get a really, really nice baked effect. So then just dust that on with your paintbrush. Try coat it nice and evenly. Doing some type of circular motions can help with that. And don't be afraid to go overboard with it. I like to use a lot of pastel. And since we put a divot in the side of our donut earlier, the pastel is not going to go into that, and you're going to get a greater contrast between the light and the dark, and it just makes it look that much more realistic and baked and yummy. So now I grab my eye pins and my cutting tool, and I hold the front and the back of them so that neither side goes flying anywhere on me. And you can see I cut them kind of long. I'm not going to push it past the middle of the donut because I don't want it sticking through. But you can tell it's still sticking on the top, and it's because I'm going to use it as a lever right now when I grab this is clay mixed with liquid clay, and my needle tool. To hold it down, I use the eye pin, and then I'm placing the icing around. And I sort of put one layer down, just a nice little circle. And then I add to it, and little circular motions is really good for this too. And I just kind of keep going around and around and around until I get something that I'm pretty happy with. And I keep my icings in these little glass jars that I just bought at Michael's for around like $1.25 each. I've been told that, or I've seen on the internet that the clay can actually eat through plastic, and they always recommend to use glass to keep these. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I really like these and they were pretty cheap, so I figured why not. So now I wipe off my needle tool because I'm gonna switch to chocolate and make the nice little chocolate stripes on these ones. I'm kind of obsessed with mint chip right now. My chocolate isn't very smooth. It's been in this jar for quite a long time, and icing can actually thicken up quite a bit. So what I should have done is added a little bit more TLS to it, which is transparent liquid Sculpey, sorry. So as you can see, I'm trying to get it to a point where it's just a thin line. It worked out pretty well there. That I can pull back and forth, and to get better control of this just takes practice. And you can see I'm going over the other one here to make it a little bit thicker. So then bake them! And after that, I grab my pliers. These ones are pretty nice, but they're magnetic, which can be a good and bad thing. And then I cut them down to size until they're not gonna stick out as much anymore. And then I grab my glue. This is one of 3 that I use. It's good because it's clear. I'm not sure how well it holds up yet. It's pretty new. But I use my pliers to get glue on the eye pin because I hate to get glue on my fingers. And then I use them to push it in and get rid of the excess glue that's around the top just to make it a little bit prettier. So here I grab another paintbrush and my glaze that I use, which is Diamond Wood Finish. Sounds strange, but I hated the Sculpey glaze that I used before. The actual jar of it would turn to like jello within a month or 2, and I couldn't use it. And all my clay stuff, it would just yellow and it would peel, and I hated it. So anyways, this stuff was pretty good. It's $7 for this jar, and water-based diamond wood finish, the gloss one. So now I grab my ear hooks or ear wires or whatever, and you always want to twist eye pins and everything open and twist them closed. That way you won't really destroy the nice loop they have to them. And I would normally wait for the glue and the glaze to dry, but I wanted to do them quick for this tutorial. And we're done! Happy crafting!